What if there was chess, but some crypto-addicted game designer who wants to roleplay as some kind of AI scientist added a bunch of new units into the game? But first I need to unironically upgrade the Hoplite, even though I usually have to do this in the middle of a video, because the base version of the Hoplite is too weak to discuss. And getting enough Hoplites to make Hoplite Plus is actually really attainable. I've already done it despite having not that much playtime, so here it is. Anyway, what the hell is this unit, right? Well, this is a minion that, on move, all adjacent ally hoplites move one space in the same direction. So this is, again, one of the small amounts of units that can move multiple units at once in a turn, like that. So you can see that this is obviously the kind of ability that you would like in a rush. This is the most free-to-play, like, noob army thing. Even if you're not a noob, this is not that bad of an army. You could get up to, like, 3,500 rating with it. Honestly, it's because players don't play well enough until then. Yes, this game is rating inflation spam, where even complete idiots can get the Grandmaster rank. Although, you should be able to tell that with just 3 hoplites, even though I'm making multi-attacks, this is still too weak to be considered an attack of any kind, as they will pretty much get taken for free easily, which is why all the attention is actually on the upgraded version of Hoplite. Now, you can get away with using some of the normal Hoplite in your build. It's not the worst thing, but the change from being column-bound, because it can't move to the sides, to being non-column-bound is huge, and it also allows more than 3 hoplites to work. So this is how you would build the hoplite brick. And this thing is so overpowered. If you ignore all the units that Hoplite can barely deal with, this Hoplite brick setup is enough to destroy basically any noob army, especially if we optimize the pieces, like getting rid of the knights and using these long-range units, putting the rooks here, as well as this dove. This dove, on enemy death, moves forward 1 space. We are not using the dove for anything other than to get out of the way by moving forward and open up the bishop line. We are also going to use a prince, which on kill transform into king and gain 20 morale. This allows us to ignore long-range king threats. Now, there are a lot of ways to upgrade the units, as in like use a rook plus or something, and also whatever this minion is, should be a promoter or even a blocker, like the hostage or something. This kind of army is like the bare minimum, the way I've currently built it with 2 queens, and 2 queens is not normal for this kind of army. Because there are so many points available, some people kind of just spam upgrades, which may not be the best thing. There's also people who use Hoplite plus plus plus, because it gains these 2 attacks. I honestly believe this is optional. It is nice to have sometimes, and the Hoplite army kind of struggles to use all its points, but you are paying 5 for armor on the front and 2 attacks, which I do not think is worth it, and almost no one plays Hoplite plus plus because it's a cost of 2 to get this block square, which can nuance sometimes. I think it's too much cost. Do note that for the bare minimum of hoplites, this is the bare minimum to make the brick. Now, I would still recommend using the hoplite pluses instead, but it's because these are the ones that allow you to do this. You don't need to move and actively use these hoplites in the back, but you do need the ones at the front to be plus if you want this setup. However, again, I think you should use Hoplite Plus whenever possible. It's a bit awkward because, okay, so here's one that I can actually afford with my limited collection. I want to upgrade a spider. So let's do this. Into plus plus. And use it in this slot. It is a 1-turn promotion, so it can be good in endgame situations, and requires no moves, but it's going to cause some awkward point situations, because what, I have to get rid of this queen and turn it into a rook, and then suddenly I have a bunch of points left. I mean, I will fix this hoplite, but still, like, arguably the queen is even too much here. Of course, being about 6 points off, we would actually prefer to have a hoplite plus plus plus, perhaps, but you could see why in this situation people would put, like, turn these rooks into rook pluses in order to try to get that points total. One thing is that the queen probably actually belongs here, because after making the brick, the queen can go from here to here and stack up. Couldn't do that with the rook, but that's a very small thing. And this rook is far less relevant than these rooks anyway. Another thing is that this prince could be a prince plus plus, which costs... Well, I guess I'll show the prince plus in the same image, but the prince plus gets extra moves, and prince plus also gets extra attacks. Of course, there is some anti-synergy here, because the prince is supposed to turn into a king, and then you lose the bonuses you get for upgrading the prince. But still, this prince plus, not that bad of an upgrade. It can help with endgames, but I just don't actually have enough copies of prince to upgrade in order to get it, so I can't show that right now. I'm gonna put in a bishop plus and use that as my army then, even though the army situation is very budget right now. Alright, here's an AI live game. Now, playing against bombers, which is a really dumb... Like, real players don't play with bombers. Even though it's probably not that bad. There's some nuances with bomber, but this will make it very silly to play against. So this bishop is going to try to attack my rook, and I'm not sure if I really care about it. But I can go here, attack both the bomber and the knight. Now the bomber, if I do attack... Oh, of course. Opponent ignores my knight threat. But basically the bomber on kill destroys self, but also on melee destroy the attacker. So interactions with bomber involve the bomber and it exploding. So if you can, you're sometimes forced to trade with minions. It's not the best, and trading does clear the way, but you would kind of prefer to not waste turns trading with the minions. You would want to get past them, because the Hoplite's promotion to Phalanx Plus is very strong, even comes with armor. So let's just make this happen. And we're gonna get a win real fast. Here, boom, and those even move. This is armor, so there is no way to, like, even counter this king being destroyed, or captured, I suppose. So you could do that, take the king. Oops, the ninja. Oh, oops, the ninja took it, instead of the queen knocking the armor off. Which is barely a big deal anyway. Here's another capture. We just take. So these games end really quickly. Like, this is move like 11 already, and the game is over. I could have also tried to promote this, so... This is how fast, and this is the regular situation of Hoplite armies destroying AI, and destroys new players just as well. Well, anyway, let's watch a replay of the opponent's side. This time, White's on the top, playing an army that I really don't agree with. There's, like, a lot of useless... Like, what is this bishop? Who's using bishop plus plus? I feel like my queen's already better than this, but we do have a dove plus plus, which, if you have the turns, which, by the way, is very unlikely, but let's say you somehow run out of things to do. You've probably made enough trades to make this thing move forward, so the dove will be, like, over here. You could then rescue it and try to make it promote. Not very common, and I don't recommend dove plus plus or plus plus in a Hoplite build. Although plus plus can be used if you want to swap it here, because dove plus plus does gain a swap, but I wouldn't really recommend that either because it costs a turn to do. You could swap a bishop. You have a bat plus plus. I don't think this is that great, but some people have recommended it, and this guy, who has indirectly caused a lot of spam on your math party Discord, basically popularized this idea of the bat. So you imagine the doves moved out of the way, and you make the Hoplite brick, and now, this is like the only army that's actually uses the horizontal part of the movement, because, well, we would also assume that this area is cleared as well, or whatever, like, trades would go on, and you would have this horizontal move, and then this vertical move to promote into this very high value vampire plus. However, I find the opponents to not be using a very great army, and it's also a match where Hoplite gets nuanced, both because there's Earth Elemental plus to add pillars. So the bad thing with those pillars when it comes to Hoplites is, well, let's say we rearrange it like this. Because of that pillar there, an attack is forced, and the Hoplites don't move with attacks. The Hoplites only move with actual moves, so it would split the Hoplites from the rest of the pack. And an even worse nuance that's happening in this matchup is Samurai, which we will get to see in the actual replay, which has the instant attack, which works really badly for Hoplites. So this is actually playing the replay now and how it went. So the Samurai moves forward, and now that just prevents a movement if, like, let's say White does move into there. In instant capture, the Samurai is getting a 2-for-1. Like, it's so bad. And it's the reason why Hoplite is not actually playable. Now, the opponent's also doing something I would never recommend, which is using Hoplite plus, but this armor actually does work with Samurai. Slightly. I mean, I don't recommend it either. But at least it doesn't make the Hoplite die. Still, remember that you're paying 2 for that. So, not good. Okay, now let's continue the replay. So, the opponent's seeing no good way to use the Hoplites, just tries to strike right in this rook. That took a frostbite, which froze that rook for a turn. And so that's a very, very bad trade on the opponent's part. But then again, there was not that much else to do, and it still traded unit for unit. But this allows this move, where some of the Hoplites can actually attempt to get to the king. The Hoplite armor actually is used this fight. The dove actually moves into a samurai there. That's what happened on the other side of the board, where the dove just continued moving forward. And this doesn't last very long. The Hoplite's army is entirely dead at this point. And it all really happened because the samurai wasn't really capable of moving. I honestly still think you can get to the high rank even with these awful matchups, but yeah. This is the kind of match that is the reason why it's not playable. Here's some fool using Hoplite +++. I mean, this is the best position for Hoplite +++, by the way. Something about Hoplite makes opponents play silly because the opponent has, like, the Fire Elemental with Destroy, Lich to create Skeletons, some more Magic Destroy with Pyromancer, and Lilith with Charm. So this should be entirely one-sided and an easy win for the opponent, but instead, the opponent first of all, this move, which is not good, because the Hoplites are going to move out of the way. This Lilith really should be around here right now, but it isn't. And then this Prince trade, it's like, come on, the Prince just trades, this Dove even opens up the Bishop line. That Skeleton isn't really even in the best position. There's some nice funny meme with that Hoplite being pushed with the wind. Another way that Hoplite can be kind of nuanced, but with those Hoplites, I mean, they just connected. Anyway, and this idea of the Hoplites supporting, with a Hoplite supporting in behind, it's a common theme. It makes the Hoplites way better when they're like this. The opponent just allows this. Amazing. Chess battle advanced. Anyway, because of that, the game's pretty much easy. Like, the game is so ridiculous that a Hoplite was able to promote into a Phalanx anyway. I mean, this is really clown hours. Alright, let's play again another live game with some private account that's using some random looking army. Okay, Drake moves. We are going to continue our standard motions of Hoplite here, here, and then up there. I do not have high hopes for the opponent's art. What? Alright, nice. Good job. Good job. It's very funny that the spider is in range. I mean, this doesn't work because the Lifestone's actually status immune, but yeah, that Lifestone. I would never recommend Lifestone to people because it's very vulnerable. Okay, opponent moves Haunted Armor up. Very interesting. My opponent also has Samurai Basilisk in there, which makes me wonder if I should even attack that way. I'm gonna do this, then I can, like, pivot either here or here. So at this point, you could try to calculate. I know most people really don't. Even though there's a Lifestone involved. I don't care. I'm just gonna move it into the Samurai's range. And you can see how the Hoplite goes, I guess. So this is quite vulnerable in some ways because I will want to deal with that Samurai threat by taking it immediately. So it doesn't go and capture the Hoplite again with the auto attack. Basilisk, that Basilisk I cannot deal with because we have an anti-mage that's defending it once. Though I do have a trade here. I'm going to trade with this Templar. That Templar was slightly positive of a trade. And now that this Bishop can actually go and deflect, maybe. Actually, no, okay, hold on. So I can move this here. Of course, most of my Hoplites are dying off. But I really still think that I have a chance here because I can do this. And now I know this Taurus is attacking with a rush ability that is hard to explain. In fact, that Taurus is actually willing to hit this back. But what I actually want to do is open the line for... Okay, that didn't even happen, so it doesn't matter. This Hoplite was petrified, so I can't move it, but I'm very close to being able to. I could also move the spider in position to annoy the ninja, which is what I'm going to be doing. Although, oh shoot, a Templar was hitting it. Okay, that's not so good then. Yeah, honestly, I believe this Hoplite pair is enough for me to win, but maybe, what? Alright, anyway. Aquarius went and sacrificed the stealth one here, which also pushed... you can't see the Aquarius description now, but it freezes the spider for 3 turns, and it pushed and moved this, freezing this for 1 turn. However, I'm going to take this ninja trade. That ninja is worth a lot. Like, that ninja is worth 3 more than the bishop, so I'm willing to sacrifice that. Okay. Now, move this up. Also moving that out of the range of the Basilisk, and... Alright, my opponent will be forced to make this anti-mage trade. Or not! Well, they're gonna get punished hard, then. Okay, so, I have a promote, but my opponent could go and... and a castle as a response to the promotion. So, I mean, I still think I do it. But this anti-mage is not as free. Why? Okay, anyway. This is a real human player, by the way. the opponent could, like, this anti-mage isn't a threat because the Templar could go and hit this and the armor would not come into play. Anyway, let's do that. This Basilisk is also free because the anti-mage dropped the defense. And yeah. Match is basically won for me. I guess you're trying to attack the bishop. And an opponent's surrender. Yep. So, average Hoplite match. Even with Samurai, that wasn't enough. And goodbye, noob army. Alright, let's watch some other replay. Already, army is pink and yellow. Not a good sign. But, okay, wizard moves and brings this fire elemental, which is magic destroy. But Hoplite's actually so good that it might actually... Okay, so we just, like, traded 3 Hoplites for a fire elemental. Okay, that bishop trade was a bit of a joke, but fine. Also hitting the wizard. That pyromancer should have come out, like, 7 turns ago or something. That dove should have been completely ignored. Cool. And a promote happened. Well, game's basically lost for white. However, opponent has this Paladin ++, which, by the way, this is something to be aware of. Not like it's all that relevant, but imagine if that was, like, over there. It might be hard to spot, or, like, if you don't play well, you might ignore that this Paladin can go and attack this from far away, so that is something to be wary about, but otherwise, the match is basically already lost for white. Here's a replay with a Hoplite mirror match. Quite a meme. Alright, so the Hoplite bricks go past each other. Both of them are using a red Hoplite with the 3 attacks. And the white's gonna get there first due to, you know, playing white. Opponent's also using this Bat++, which is really not something that makes a lot of sense. You should, like, unupgrade some bishops for that or something. But alright. The prince dies first, which makes some sense as well. Opponent actually kills... Black actually kills the king first. Did I say Prince was better to destroy first? No, it's clearly the king, because Prince reviving into a king is a gain 20 morale. Instead of 25, you lose 25, so better to kill the king if the prince cannot recapture. But anyway. Nice stupid mirror match there. The doves even promote at the same time. Alright. Okay, the bat spends a move there. Not the best thing to do, but when both players have lost their kings, it's the time to promote your stuff. And also, the value of the phalanxes matters. Like, phalanx has a value of 16, phalanx plus has a value of 21. But let's see what happens here. Bishop attacks. Alright, Vamp promotes, so this is a Vampire ++ with 22 value, Vampire plus with 25 value. The promotes really should not matter this much in an ordinary match, but, you know, it's chess battle advance, and it gets taken, woo. Very funny that Black won despite going second. I think it was that Prince move that was a mistake from White, because from here it actually looks good-ish. 57 to 31, all of the morale totals are, of course, very volatile, and can switch hard between turns. And also, White didn't bother to promote these. These Hoplites are, of course, close to promotion, but opponent decided not to really do anything with them. Here's another game. This is an older version, so that's why White starts with 101 morale. White's playing a Necromancer, which has the ability to destroy an ally minion effectively, which is another nuance of Hoplite. And the Hoplite has to move back. In order to, what, get this archer? Sure. I don't think that White should have allowed that archer to get taken. But anyway, a bunch of Hoplites die for pretty much for free. Oh, Behemoth! This is nice to talk about. This Behemoth thing cannot be targeted by enemy minions. If that Behemoth was closer to there, like around this area, it would serve as a nuance to Hoplites, because the Hoplites cannot really advance into the Behemoth. However, the Hoplites are able to go to the right side this time, and if all the Hoplites trade off, the Behemoth actually gets worse because there's no enemy minions for it to affect. And it's like a way weaker queen, effectively, in that case. Alright, let's watch this attempt for Black, considering the right side is basically locked down by Necromancer already. Well, in no reasonable game should that happen, and apparently opponent forgot armor or whatever the hell. So, good job with that sapling. Alright. So this is one of the nice things with potentially having rooks in the middle, because the rooks in the middle were capable of getting some control over it. There's a Fencer, which has some armor and a lot of teleport range. And white is very nearly about to use that Fencer, but can't do it yet. Okay, well that's a blunder of a rook, it seems. Although, does train to a Medusa and opens the back line. It's funny this dove is kind of near promotion, if it can even happen. That was a blunder of a Berserker Plus, but maybe this has closed off this rook. Maybe that's better. I would try to get the dove now. It's funny this dove can't swap with this because it's displacement immune. Or get this behemoth to not get so blocked off. There's even a Spider Plus Plus here, which could try to go for this promote, which would be a deflection of the rook if possible. Okay, here it seems like the prince should be taken. Actually, the bishop can take back, so that's not the best move. I guess the fencer will actually have to either move, or the behemoth could try to support by moving up. Here's a check. I think that fencer is not as well positioned. Please move that dove out. What are you doing here? That's not even a real threat. Okay. I mean, at least we got the arachnid off, but the hoplites are closer to promotion than they ever have been. Right. I might consider the fencer moving here and here to attempt to attack the king from a different angle. That tree is no longer defended since the dryad dropped from its control there. I swear this king is about to get mated. Yeah. Kind of a clown game, as all hoplite games end up being. And white has no chances anymore. Alright, anyway. Anyway, that really ended up being, like, not much of a hoplite game after the ending, because it was just rooks and white not having a successful attack, with not enough firepower to get to the top right side, even though there were some promotes there. Other champions, like the anti-mage, which has these immunities that don't matter versus hoplite, and also some blunders from white, of course. Let's do a final live game. This one was intentionally a 98-point army, showing that you could use Hoplite plus zeros, the base versions, and how I got immediately punished for their lack of ability to move. I will say, though, that probably this one is the one that is best to be a Hoplite plus zero, since it's all the way on the right, and it's more likely to have backup for rooks to make that column good to push into. I'm going to get nuanced. Oh no. Anyway, this is actually going to be quite a horrible showing of hoplites because I'm playing against the Soul Keeper, which we have already established as one of the nuances, and Frost Method is not the best matchup for it either. Lust can be either or. It can sometimes pull the hoplites away from the brick, which is a pretty terrible thing that can happen. Now, when getting Nuance, there is the meme idea of hoplite stall, where you decide to not even attack with the hoplites. And yes, this is some idea. It's not going to work, though. So Soul Keeper's ability to transform enemy into ally ghost, and also, even if I decide to move this, which you really shouldn't move this, the fact that the bishop can attack the Soul Keeper is completely irrelevant, due to Guardian plus, which has this swap shield, which is a great example of why this thing isn't actually a viable army, because it gets nuanced so hard. The opponent moved the Lust from here to here, so now the Lust is threatening to pull that Hoplite, so I do have a double attack here. Is it the best double attack? It will probably result in a free ghost for the opponent, but it's a double attack anyway, which is at least something the Hoplite army is capable of doing. Which means that I will be able to get a Guardian, at the very least, because I am attacking two champions, even though there's a Guardian in the way. Now, this is also blocking my bishop even further, which is a common thing with the hoplites. They don't exactly have the best back row protection. Okay, so we're going to take, which is about the only thing you could do here. The opponent has lost the Guardian's slot because it was used for the Lust. So I could do this move and have the Soul Keeper targeted. That is not even very good because the Soul Keeper can go take that hoplite right now. But it got taken. However, this is open now. Right, let's try to get the king now. This is so dumb. It's not going to be good. I just... You really cannot win with Soul Keeper against you. It's really sad that we would have been able to win if this was not a Frost Method. It would have been a way easier win. But now... this will probably get attacked, and I'm just doing it because there's nothing else to do. When you're playing a rush and get nuanced, you basically have to go all in anyways. So, what do I expect here? My opponent will probably move the Lust or something, or even the Soul Keeper here. Although, I will also try to go here if I need a turn wasting move with this Hoplite Plus, because even though this Hoplite Plus is very likely to die, it is actually really threatening in the 7th rank. Okay, opponent moved the Guardian there. It's obviously because even if I do, Queen moves there and, like, attempts to hit the King, the opponent's 3-range, long-range castle is such a stupid, grand, spaghetti monster design. I can't, I don't know if I should need to move the Queen here instead of taking here, but we will take this. It's so ridiculous that I'm about to get this Vampire. This is a value 25 trade for, actually, no, it took the Guardian, so it was... I guess... I mean, this is the thing with rushes. Like, it can sometimes get these to happen anyway, even though it's insane that this even happened. Okay, the opponent took this Hoplite instead, which is I can actually delay this Vampire take, which is also weird as hell, but alright. We got this, and I can then do... I don't know where that Soul Keeper wants to go. It might even go to this. But I have a checkmate threat here. A more real one now that the Long Castle has been broken. I'm gonna lose all my hoplites. Probably. Actually, ghosting that might not be a good idea because it opens up this bishop line even more. Let's chess battle advance to distract. Oh, wow. Wow. Hmm. That's a trade opportunity right there. Should I take it? I don't know what else I would do. Fine, I'll take the trade. Even though that's a bad one, obviously, I knew that it was going to get pulled like that. And I don't have rooks left. My opponent still cannot avoid this, this vampire from being removed, I think. And I do not want to waste the turn, like, capturing it, because there is a greed that can attack this phalanx. The armor only is 1 range there. Alright, so now if I go here... Okay, this is this time to take, because this is defended by the vampire. Alright, I think it's time to take it. Alright, now we can take this Frost Method. So a common trait with all Rush, not just Hoplites, is that Frost Method can sometimes have the downside of your pieces being frozen. Doesn't matter as much because you can make threats and captures in the meantime. Like, I'm just going to capture this right now. And now I have this Frost Method threat, and my opponent wants to retake this bishop. Okay, this thing is about to promote, but I don't think it's actually going to make it. Because, like, we have this ghost that, or that can get in the way, and unfortunately, this thing not having that side move is that, like, it literally is going to cost us the game insanely. Well, maybe not, because we've somehow managed to be morale ahead, but it's because if this could move sideways, it could move into here, and then the armor would affect that greed. It would actually attack the greed instead. I don't know what to do. Like, I might win here. It's likely I can. Okay. It's funny that I just would have outright won if I didn't decide to play with the meme 98-point army variation. I might as well force the promote into Angel, which is not that relevant here. I don't really know what to do here. My opponent's going to try to move that Frost Method into a important place. I'll probably try to move this, although it's not going to be relevant. I know for a fact that this is not going to really get there in time. Or like it can't really do anything actually. Okay, so with may or may not have lost the end game here due to missing the thing I was going for the whole time and letting myself go in a situation where the greed plus 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 just a massive on death ability, but it's perfect in an end game like this where the opponent, aka me, has like weak champions remaining. But the move here that I did like Bishop moving away because the Bishop was blocked. The move here is Prince goes there, gets attracted by the Lust's pulling, but cannot take it because of the rook pin here. That would have been a win. I was probably too depressed that I ran a 98-point army just to show the Hoplite plus zeros and lost due to that. I mean, the one move you could pretend to make is that, and it doesn't help anyway because Prince takes, Ghost would take, and it's a transparent unit that does not block movement, so the king is takeable anyway. Instead, this is what actually happened. Not my brightest moment. Thing is, that match would have taken like 40 more moves to finish if I didn't fail, so I don't care. Okay, I decided to go back to a 2-queen army. Alright, listen to how many check sounds there are. Easy. Here's a rematch against that Soulkeeper Guardian thing. Again, this is a match that I should technically be the winner. I mean, no. The Soulkeeper should be the winner because it's too overpowered. But I'm glad it turned out this way because it's more interesting. Here we have a Lust, which is threatening to turn this brick into something else. Like, if I did anything, like, if I did that, the brick would be detached. So instead, I kind of detached the brick. Not that badly. And there's also a Perpetual Battle Advanced, which caused me to lose the brick anyway because I played bad. But now we have the Hoplite Triangle. Not a real thing. But yeah, Soulkeeper goes. This is actually arguably a blunder here, as the Soulkeeper and Lust both die off. I think I could say I officially baited this player with the Soulkeeper infiltration idea. We also have a Pengu. Yeah, anyway, the Pengu doesn't work to grab this ghost at all. Thank you, Freeze, for nothing. Anyway, with the Soulkeeper gone, this is actually a much better matchup for me. I'm able to pick off these Frost Mephits. Although this Vampire is getting this Hoplite, almost, I actually feel really good about my chances in order to get this Hoplite. There was a Guardian that used its Swap Shield in order to save that Vampire. Now, in this situation, it's also important that I break off these Mephits. If the Frost Mephits connect with each other and start to mutual defend, it'll make the Hoplites much more annoying, so that's why I take this immediately, even though there is a Vampire morale drain that happened that turn. Check, but but the greed hit is actually more important. Once again, this is a situation where if this Hoplite, I mean, I was gladly playing a 100-point army this time, but gosh, if this Hoplite was the Hoplite plus, this promote would have been excellent. But my opponent would have probably moved the greed elsewhere in that case too. Anyway, promote, and it's an easy win for me after this. Okay, I think that's enough replays in live games. So, of course, these games with Hoplites are very dynamic. There's also lots of interesting long-range play. It's too bad the army is not viable competitively because of defensive nuance. It can be very good in rush situations, against bad players, etc. Also, I forgot the win rate stuff. God damn it. But it's about what you would expect anyway. Now, I'd like to talk about some alternative army ideas. One of them is Hoplite Mid-Range. It's not as good, probably, but you could consider, and the way you would build this is, you get to save on the Prince and the Bishops. Remember, the Bishops are kind of overcosted at 10, arguably. So you would keep running long-range pieces here, but then you could have an actual King defense here. And with these slots, you could get some long-range units like Angel, which I don't have. I guess the budget account is not a very good showing of this, huh? But you would attempt to pick pieces like maybe the Ninja or the Poison Mage that attempt to get rid of enemy minions, like Samurai, that could be a problem, or try to target a certain enemy unit with the Ninja's range 3 unblockable attack. Angel is actually the best in slot for what the Ninja's trying to do here. I just don't have it on this account. And, you know, without Bishops, this army would play better against situations where the rush cannot happen. Of course, far fewer players actually build it this way, but it is something you could do. It doesn't seem to be that much worse. You know how in that last game there was that moment where the Lust was attracting the Hoplite? It could have went on forever. And, I mean, if Hoplite could not break into the right side, which is possible, if the Hoplite fails to succeed at the rush, you could actually have such a stupid situation where there is a perpetual involving the Hoplite armies and the morale decay happens on both sides. and then the Hoplite army would maybe succeed. It's hard to say because no one is bored enough to actually make these games take that long. I think the fact that this can even happen is a huge problem. It's basically why none of the offshoots do this kind of thing. But I mean, like, Hoplites have, like, one value. Like, a lot of minions are much more than one value. So they uptrade and the opponent is not incentivized to open it up because of the long-range pieces. So if you could hold a defense, and again, this is a meme scenario, it's unclear because opponents frost buffets and could trade, maybe try to work around the bishop. The bishop area is always, like, the most vulnerable. You could see Hoplite stall being a thing. But it's never happened. People don't want to play a Hoplite army and then get forced into 150 turn games. But it could happen. So that's the Hoplite stall meme. Actually, this is not all that pay to win. But could you believe that a player actually unironically ran this army? The trading with the Hoplite +++s are absolutely awful. But it's a very funny army. It also, like, you could imagine this kind of army would have maybe better successes because it has extra attacks where it matters most. I'm pretty sure, like, it's... I don't know if this Hoplite +++ guy has ever actually won a game with the army. Here you can see the nice samurai versus armor interaction there. Samurai still manages to really nuance this and force it to defend, so maybe this is not the best showing, but on the other hand, it's exactly what you would expect out of the freaking Hoplite +++ army. We also have Angel, which, by the way, this is like the most relevant army for Angel, because on death, all allies are enchanted for a turn, and that is the most relevant thing with Hoplites, since it would allow Hoplites to go into areas that are otherwise defended. Like that, you can see the samurai is not making an enchanted threat right now because of the enchantment. I feel like opponent's not gonna... Okay, the opponent respected that butterfly placement, which is about to happen on that square. Okay, that's a 2-turn enchanted samurai, very dangerous. But this is not the freaking butterfly video. And the samurai gets that fork, oh my god. Alright, anyway... So one thing about that Hoplite army, this Hoplite army, is that its ability to actually promote is, like, much better than the other Hoplite +0 armies and such. Of course, it's, like, also one of the more risky armies to play. I feel like White's gonna win this one. So White needs to move everything up. The... the Hoplite's 6 value, even though it promoted to a phalanx, it lost as morale went to 0 directly. Another thing that you might find in some Hoplite armies, I just don't have it on this account, is the greed +++. Even the normal Hoplite army could maybe see its use. Since that is a rook that is like 5 range, so it's almost a rook, and if you don't lose it, you don't get to see its on death condition. So if you imagine a Hoplite versus Hoplite matchup with this guy, oh yeah, this is when I was using a greed +++ of my own, and I had an angel of my own as well, and Hoplite +++ is in the back. So the rook takes the greed for the morale there. So opponent's trying to get these Hoplites close to my king, and you can see the enchantment really, really helping there. But I actually just try to promote my own Hoplites here. So I do lose my own king really soon, but my own Hoplites are about to promote. But first I take the opponent's greed. So I have 8 versus 17 enemy morale, but promotion. Promotion. Taking some of the Hoplites as well. And of course the extra value from the phalanx is huge here. I'm actually about to win here by taking that Hoplite, and there we go. Honestly, probably a pay-to-lose army, but there it is. Other things. Hoplite was introduced in patch version 50, and it's just hilarious looking at it right now. Like, this tier Hoplite ++ is now basically 1 cost. That's a -3 cost from release. Hoplite ++ as well, and it's just like, how do you balance that bad? Especially on a minion. Like, minion costs are usually also really volatile, because -3 costs on a full Hoplite line is like total of 24 or something. Of course, we wouldn't run all Hoplite, but still. It's like a buff of 18 army points or something. And how long did it take? This is V51. V52. Okay, -1 cost. V53. V54. Alright, now by V54, it's the same as what it is right now. Also, another funny thing is running out of description length, so the +++ description is actually phrased differently than the, you know, ++ description. Also, someone did a Grandmaster speedrun using a Hoplite army. It was arguably even more budget in some ways. It uses a freaking Duelist Plus for some reason. Test Battle Advanced. Why is old CBA taking up my CPU? The game's made in Flash, so it's technically a security risk. Anyway, I don't know why, but Hoplite has a 4 ruby cost on the shop. Of course, this is a single shop, and you shouldn't really buy single units until very late in the game, and you should probably never ever buy a common, because if you buy enough basic boxes, you'll be able to get tons of pluses for every unit. But people freaking don't, like, they're so short term, and they've inflated the price of this all to hell. It costs 500 rupees to buy a single one, but you don't even need to. Like, this is relevant because, like, the Spaghetti Monster had some thoughts of a Hoplite nerf, but now, the Spaghetti Monster thinks that everyone bought them 4 ruby at a time. We're not gonna nerf the paying players, even though they made bad decisions. Spaghetti Monster doesn't want to punish players for their bad economy decisions, like student debt.